Hi everyone. I'll be presenting my case study on Caldwell University. I worked a lot with Steve Quinn, who is the acting vice president of enrollment at the university. So let's get started. First, I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of Caldwell University. Caldwell University is a small, private, tuition dependent liberal arts institution located in the upper middle class town of Caldwell, New Jersey. Caldwell's university core values are focused on diversity, culture, respect, integrity, community, and excellence, with a liberal arts curriculum that challenges students to think critically, pursue truth, and contribute to a just society. As a Catholic Dominican institution, the environment and campus culture are engaging, inclusive, and definitely contribute to positive growth and development. However, at the same time, these values are universal to all different faiths and backgrounds. By using multiple structures, lenses, and perspective, Caldwell creates an inclusive, diverse, and engaging environment. To fulfill this mission, Caldwell's first step is to employ a STEM plan that aims to attract students, faculty, and staff that are the best fit for the institution. This is a team effort driven by the dynamic interrelationships with and between the many departments on campus. Caldwell's STEM team structure formally contains undergraduate admissions, graduate admissions, financial aid, marketing, communications, public relations, the website, registrar, and athletics. So it's combined of a lot of many different departments. However, the informal relationships go far beyond just those departments. It's also worth noting that the VP of Enrollment Management reports to the president and serves as interim president in the president's absence. There are multiple stakeholders at Caldwell, and balancing institutional priorities, mutually reinforcing those needs of the community, is definitely not an easy task. So, these decision making factors are influenced and limited by context, which can be financial, physical, political, ethical, moral, and just many various different ones. In making these decisions, there's also a nice mix between data driven and data informed decisions. Looking at undergraduate recruitment, there are different marketing plans for juniors and seniors. These could be based on upcoming events, certain academic programs, and extracurricular interests. Caldwell's main campaign mediums are paper mail, email, phone, and text. Caldwell's strategy focuses on a few different undergraduate target populations, which are lead, inquiry, applicant, accepted, and deposited. That's kind of the drop downs that they fill in as they go through the process. When admissions counselors travel, they utilize historical data to visit high schools that typically give the highest yield, and they visit those schools early and often. Caldwell is focused on growth with its new 2500 plan, aimed to get enrollment to 2500 students. To accomplish this, they're definitely exploring some new territories, including out of state and international. On the retention side, most schools that are similar to Caldwell in size, location, and all of that, and programs, etc., have about a 72% retention rate, and Caldwell's retention rate is 82. And as far as financial aid goes, Caldwell does its best to keep packages consistent unless a student has experienced a hardship or their financial situation warrants for an update or change to their financial aid in any specific way. Two other retention initiatives that were also identified. There's definitely one that's called Refresh at Caldwell University. If a student fails a core class their freshman year, they can retake that class completely free in the winter or summer session. And after identifying these particular courses and after successful completion of the program, it was definitely found that Caldwell students retain at a much higher rate. Another program is called the Sophomore Challenge, in which the institution calls upon sophomore students to make a creative project that expresses what Caldwell means to them and what has impacted them about the campus. Caldwell also noticed a larger number of mental health and disability information requests throughout the admissions process. So, therefore, the institution has made efforts to improve those services and their visibility on campus and in admissions materials. So Caldwell is now a stigma-free campus. Looking at Caldwell's STEM plan, I definitely feel like many of my personal beliefs and values align with their mission. Caldwell's context is a small school environment where everyone knows each other. This cultural and organizational structure is particularly important for relationship building, not only with the students, but also between the other departments on campus. We all know that STEM is definitely not a single department. definitely not composed of a single department and definitely requires the contributions of all groups working together to accomplish institutional and student goals. Definitely, the small school environment creates a place of access where students can get resources, and if not, they can definitely be referred to someone that can help them. However, there's a gap within a small school like Caldwell, which definitely may be understaffed and unable to offer the same level of personal attention to all students and fully meet their demands of these students. Another belief that I definitely hold true is that a successful student is created by a successful institution, and also vice versa is true. Definitely, the first step in supporting the next generation of students starts with ethical and responsible recruitment and retention practices. Recruitment must accurately convey the academic, social, and cultural environment that it markets to prospective students. And using key enrollment indicators, this tool will definitely help an institution focus its recruitment efforts and accurately convey what it has to offer. Caldwell's marketing plan helps recruit best fit students whose educational, social, and personal identities and goals also align with the institution's. Utilizes a few different materials and forms of marketing. There's one that's a search piece, which includes fast facts, majors, clubs, and more. This is definitely meant to be the most important piece, and it's also very easy to read and understand for students. At a small school like Caldwell, there's more value in the customer service and personal connection. But with students, every student has their own identity influenced by factors such as race, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, and other influences. These multiple identities, they may intersect and influence each other in many, many ways. And definitely knowing this, how can a STEM team be fully prepared to meet the demands? Some of us may ask, in this ever-changing market and student population, it is definitely to address these needs. My proposed STEM plan goes way deeper and tells a much deeper story. One of the biggest takeaways for me are definitely communication, clarity, transparency, and honesty between all level and divisions of the STEM team. With the collaboration of the entire STEM team, perhaps institutions will feel more confident in the ever-changing market. This is definitely why it's important, and I discussed this with Steve Quinn, why it's important to have a VP of enrollment in the organizational structure, and they are the authority, the change agent, and definitely the spokesperson for STEM development. And something else that I would include within my SAM plan would be the creation of a STEM committee, which would be a great way to connect each stakeholder to the decision making process. Organizational structure and activities are the foundation for successful STEM. However, the implementation of the plan is the main factor to addressing individual stakeholders' concerns. It definitely must be sustainable. In terms of strategic planning and policy at the institutional level, I believe that the best strategy would include a combination of both short-term and long-term goals. Um, an example of this is tuition discounting or offering scholarships that don't have an actual dollar value. So basically, this would just reduce costs and lessen the revenue of the institution. These costs would be associated with a decision that are more than just financial. Institutions may only be able to focus on one initiative at a time due to many limitations. This is why it's so important for institutions to be proactive with their capital projects and strategic planning while keeping in mind what their specialized identity is in the institutional market. These investments should have a high return and definitely a deep impact. In determining both institutional and student needs, I believe that it would be best for an institution to have a formal department of institutional research. The more data, the better. In terms of data, we must use a combination of qualitative and quantitative data. However, data collection by itself will not improve STEM. The importance is in the area of application or how the data is used. With any issue, there are thousands of variables making it near impossible to predict exactly what will happen or the trends that will take place. With this, institutions and STEM teams must use both data driven and data informed practices. Another important piece of data to analyze are key enrollment indicators. Students choose and remain at institutions based on a combination of numerous factors. Generally speaking, it's economic, sociological, and information based. So, for example, keeping tuition price down, ensuring a balance of students with different academic strengths, geography, race, culture, and diversity will ultimately influence a student's decision to attend, persist, and thrive within an institution. On the student side, they need to know definitely that their chosen institution is the best fit academically, socially, financially, and beyond. As institutions push to become more holistic in terms of student development, we must continue to support these students both in and out of the classroom. Institutions need to be student centered. There's a great ethical responsibility along with a certain level of professionalism that is expected from us as institutions. This isn't just an expectation, but it's rather an ethical and moral obligation for the institution. I definitely also believe that it's important to keep in mind that the needs of the student body may just be as complex as the identities that make them up. So, no matter what race, religion, or ethnicity, we cannot assume that students have everything that they need to succeed. Just as important as we should not categorize students by assuming, for example, that all minority students are struggling with these insecurities. Everyone should have an incredible college experience, as we all know, and everyone should be proud of the institution they're attending. And perhaps this can be accomplished through giving students a stronger feeling of belonging. I believe that this would be the best way because each student is a unique individual who has their own story of success or lack thereof. However, I believe that it's definitely unrealistic for institutions to assume that every student will stay. This is due definitely to the multitude of factors outside of an institution's control, which can affect retention. Looking forward towards new models, I believe that institutions would like credit for these student successes rather than counting them just as dropouts. So, traditional metrics still matter, but like many other topics in higher education, retention must evolve and adapt to the times. And I definitely believe that we cannot and we definitely must not ignore the growing number of non traditional students. So in conclusion, I definitely believe that my SEM plan is grounded in the best practices learned from both the text that we've read as well as the case study of Caldwell University. This plan can also be applied to a variety of institutional settings. It's definitely sustainable, it is adaptive and changes with the times, and it meets the needs of the ever changing institutional market and the ever changing student body that we're faced with today, creating definitely a foundation for lifelong learning. So that's my presentation on my case study. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to message me if you have any questions.